Welcome everyone. We'll get started. This is number two of the Atlantic Crossing webinars. We don't have Smiley today. You're super lucky to have the original webinar hosts, Kieran McMaster and myself will be presenting today. We are going to talk about the Offshore App, the DataHub, um, Satcoms, and tracking. Just quickly run over what software we're going to be looking at today. So I will do a tiny bit of setup in the PredictWind website, and which is basically the same as the PredictWind app, and that is what we use when we're on a Wi-Fi connection or cellular connection. So, around home, or, we can use that on our boat with Starlink. But today we're going to really focus on the Offshore app, and you can use this with Starlink as well. But you can also use it with your Iridium Go, your Iridium Go exec, um, or other uh, slower um, satellite connections. And it is a really useful piece of software to know how to use. It gives you a different option if you do run into connection issues with your SAT connection. It will save all the data offline, and you can control how much data you're downloading. And yeah, it's a great piece of software. And the great thing about it is you can actually load uh, the Offshore app onto a bunch of devices. So you could have that, on your Mac or your PC laptop. You could have it on a couple. You could have it on an Android tablet. You could have it on your Android phone. You could have it on your iOS device. It doesn't matter. And you can use your same PredictWind account to be logged into those. So, one of the things we talk about a lot with offshore sailing is redundancy. So being able to use these different pieces of software with just the one account gives you a lot of redundancy. So it's a good way to go, especially when we're doing a big crossing, and great to have that available to you on multiple devices. So Kieran's going to talk about the Data Hub, and so yeah, I'll let her talk about that. The Data Hub is a really cool device that's become very popular. So I'll stop sharing and let Kieran take over for a bit.
Cool, thanks, Nick. Yeah, one of the things I wanted to highlight is that in the PredictWind team, we're all sailors. And so I just delivered my brother's boat up to Fiji from New Zealand earlier this year. And we had the Data Hub on board. It's a device that you can hold in your hand, and it has lots of uses that we've found out. GPS tracking is the main one. So if you have a Data Hub connected on your boat, you can connect it into the NMEA network or the N2K network on your boat, and it will pull in the GPS position, the wind speed, the direction. The main reason we started the Data Hub was for GPS tracking, and so it's super accurate. We can build you a tracking page that you can share with your friends and family. I know Nick's going to go over that quickly later on, but I'm just going to share my screen and show you our trip to Fiji. The reason it's so cool is because you can share it with friends and family who will follow you. So this is a tracking page that we made for my brother's boat, and you can see along the way that, from New Zealand to Fiji, anyone can tap into this. The cool thing if you have the Data Hub is that not only do you see the boat speed, but you can see the true wind speed and direction coming off the boat, which is really valuable. And people can watch what you're doing. You can have blog posts and everything like that. So the Data Hub, like I said, Nick showed you it before. One of the main reasons we have it is for GPS tracking and sharing your extra data that comes in off the boat. So it's awesome for that. The other things that are really cool about it that we've since developed is things like over-the-horizon AIS. So, for example, going to Fiji, there's a lot of fishing fleets that you encounter along the way. Your normal AIS, you can only see sort of 15 to 20 Ks ahead of you. With over-the-horizon AIS, you can pull in all of the AIS satellite data. So we knew that in sort of 10 hours time, we were going to come across a fishing fleet, and that was going to be in the middle of the night. So we were prepared for that, and that information can get pushed to your chart plotter from the Data Hub. And so you have, a lot bigger visibility of any issues that might be coming up in the future. Also, if you've got a container ship coming at you, with the normal AIS, you've only got sort of 10 minutes to prepare, especially if they're going really quick, and you are as well. With the over the horizon AIS, you can, prepare a lot more in the future. So that's a great feature on its own, along with the tracking. Um, One of the other things that the Data Hub now does is automated AI polars. So Nick's going to go into polars and routing and why it's so important to have good polars. But if you have a Data Hub connected to your boat's N2K network and you have the AI polars turned on, we can actually build you through AI, the Data Hub pushing information back to predict wind, a set of polars for your boat specifically. And they will become more accurate over time based on how you actually sail. So instead of just having the generic polars from the designer, you can start with those and then you can build on them. The reason that the polars are so important is that when you have the right polar, it puts you in the right spot in the weather forecast for your route. And if you're not in the right spot, you're going to get the wrong weather. So it all comes back to your polars. So it's super important. And that's a really easy feature to set up. Um, Also, what we've now done with the Data Hub is an anchor app. And so we have a specific anchor app that connects into the Data Hub. The really cool thing about having the Data Hub, if you've got like a Starlink on board and you could have your Data Hub connected to that, use the anchor app, you can be in your bunk and you can get information about the boat through that, all that N2K network. You could also go off the boat with your phone and the anchor app on your phone, and you could get alerts if your boat was drifting. So this was really good in Fiji. We go into the markets and we have to anchor the boat. We've got the anchor app set up, and if there was ever a concern the boat was dragging or something outside of its radius, we would get that information pushed to our phones and run back to the dinghy and out to the boat. Luckily, it hasn't happened, but yeah, so that's pretty important. Um, you can share the N2K data over Wi-Fi, so you can push it to all the other apps like Navionics and things. So that's pretty awesome as well. And yeah, we're just finding the Data Hub is becoming a really, really popular device. I'd highly recommend it. It's a one-off cost, installed easily, and then you're away with all these extra features. So yeah, highly recommend it.
Hey, Kieran, can you go back
Yep,
to your sharing page and can you go to your GPS tracking page? I just want to talk
yep,
about that for a second.
yep.
So, um, I actually followed Kieran and her brother and whoever else on the boat. I think it was one of Kieran's kids on the boat on this passage, and they were going pretty quick, and they definitely knew it was going to be a reasonably windy passage. But if you see up near Fiji, just after that blog post there, Kieran, I think it's about there. I No, not that one before there, where you change
So,
course. Yeah, and I think that morning I got up and had a look at the tracking, and I actually sent Kieran a message, and I was like, "Are you guys all right?" And because I could see that, I mean, it was 30 knots, but I could see that their boat speed had dramatically decreased from what they'd been doing over the past couple of days. And she said, "Yeah, we're all right. We just had a bit of a knockdown." So uh, uh, it's it is actually really cool being able to see that extra data.
yeah.
Being able to see how windy it is, what wind direction they've got. There you
The
go.
coffee machine took a tumble. Yeah, that was when we had our knockdown. So the coffee machine survived. But
Yeah, so it's pretty cool having other people sort of watching you and just checking in.
yeah.
I knew that they would be fine, but it was yeah of interest to me that they were sort of going, I don't know, roughly 4 knots slower than what they've been going for the whole trip, and
Mm.
I think they'd finally decided to button off a bit. Anyway, it is very cool and a real thing. So I should have mentioned at the start that you can put questions in the Q&A box, and our support team is there, and they'll answer them as best they can along the way. So I will jump into the same screen share as I had before, if I can find it, um, and we'll come over here. So pretty yeah, sort of good segue that we've just been talking about GPS tracking. So you can um, set up a GPS tracking page. If I was doing a YB event, let's say I was doing the ARC and they're using YB trackers, I can add those YB trackers and then I can see where everyone is and click on different people, see how fast they're going, and that's pretty cool. If I am using my Predict Wind GPS tracking, I could set up a buddy group. So I could have a group of friends and I can, you know, add them to make up my own little group and add them to that group. And I'll sort of show you what that looks like in the Offshore app in a bit. But what is nice about it, so, if you were doing rally up the Pacific rally that they do out of New Zealand, you can see what everyone else is doing on board. So you can see their blog posts and sort of see, are they having a good time or not, sort of thing. So you can set that all up here in your GPS tracking. So we want to do that first before we go into the Offshore app. I think you go through polars, Kieran?
Yes, yeah, I went through them very basic quickly. Yep.
So I won't. I mean, we did the polars last week as well in the sail routing, so we won't go through that too much. And so I will actually stop sharing that screen and I will jump over to the Offshore app. So we're going to be looking at the Offshore app on my Mac. And sorry, pressing the wrong buttons. Here we go. So here we are in the Offshore app on my Mac. It's pretty similar to if I was using it on my tablet or iPad or phone. There's a few buttons that are different, but it's essentially the same, does much the same stuff. So you'll see I've already downloaded a route here, and what we can see is, I'll just turn that GMDSS off. What we can see is that it's got this limited area. And so what that is, if I come up here to Grib, in this piece of software, one of the controls we have is the area of weather that we download. So depending on what our connection type is, we can change this area because that changes our file size. And there's a few different ways that we can sort of mitigate what we want to do, big, small, or otherwise. And one of the things that I like to do if I was on a low bandwidth connection is potentially download this couple of days of weather and get all the models and a lot of parameters, because that's my most important window of weather is today and tomorrow. Anything beyond that, I want to know about it, but I can look at how that, I can mitigate that. I can decide whether I'm going to slow my boat down, whether I'm going to route around a particular piece of weather. So I can make those decisions later. But if I have this small area and I do that download, what I might do afterwards is come and do an area like this, a really big area, where I download just one weather model. And for this situation, I would probably get the ECMWF and I would change a bunch of settings around it. So the other thing to note is if I move these start and finish waypoints, that the box automatically moves with it. So, but you'll see that it gets pretty tall. So we may want to bring that down a bit. So anyhow, so and to sort of cover off the very basics, if I have I want to know where my start waypoint is. So this is my start waypoint. This green one is the start. The red one is the finish. It says start waypoint. I can set that either by dragging it, or if depending on what device I'm on, it might show my position. The DataHub will show my position. If I'm on an Iridium Go, it'll show my position. So yeah, I think, I'm not sure whether Kieran sort of mentioned before that a very nice way to track with Starlink is with the DataHub. So anyway, that position there, if I move my zoom controls, is you'll see that the lat long moves as I move that around. So, and we want this to always be where we're routing from. So wherever we are in the ocean, we want that there. So let's say we've sailed a day and we're down here for the point of the example. So I've got my start and my finish waypoint. You can see that there's I've got a bunch of stuff saved in here. They're saved courses. I can save these. I can export them, share them to my friends, and I can import a route as well. So, and another thing, I'll just shut that there. So being able to do that's pretty handy. And again, zoom controls. So we've got that set up there, and we can come over here and I can go back to weather routing, and I see that route from before. And so where did I put that start waypoint? Look at that. Let's say that those routes, we'd sort of followed the consensus and we ended up about here, and we'll route from there now. And so this is exactly what we would do. Let's say we were here. That's where our boat is. That's where we're going to route from. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on download. And so when I do a download in here, if I don't replace something that was already there, it will stay there. So that's sort of a good to know. It's also a very, very handy thing because it means I can come and look at other stuff. So let's say I just left and I was on my Iridium Go connection. I can I could have downloaded some stuff that I wouldn't be able to download on that connection, and it will stay there. And what I'm talking about there in particular is ocean currents. I wouldn't be able to download that through that connection, but I can download it in here and it will save offline. So we have our connection type. And so we have web, Iridium Go, Go Exec, Optimizer, Globestar, satellite, email requests. Wow. Obviously, I'm not going to do that today. I can use web if I'm on Starlink. And so we'll just leave that as it is. And then there's this button over here. And so if you're confused and you're not sure, you can always click on that button and it will go to the default settings. Because you see down here, my estimated file size is 98 megabytes. So pretty big, but no problem for a high-speed connection. But if I come over here and I click that button, you'll see that I've got 530 kilobytes. That would still be really big for an Iridium Go connection, but it would eventually work. But you could definitely make that smaller. And I know why. It's probably because I've got some of these things connected. Fully. Anyhow, let's get rid of some models. We want global models for this. So you'll see that it's changed my time step to 24 hourly, 5 days of weather. And that's why I was saying before about that grid area. So I could actually make that grid area smaller. So if I actually cancel out of here, go back to grid and change this area, change my grid area, you'll see, if I click on download again, that my file size has changed considerably. I've got a really small file size there. And the reason that we're not too concerned about that is that our grids are actually giving us the image as such, the visual to go with the routing. The routing is still going to use, the weather routing is still going to use the highest resolution data that it can get available, that's available to it. So it's got the ECMWF 9K and GFS at 25 or 27, UKMO at its highest resolution. I think it's around 12. And so we can have all that information in our routing, and and then we visualize it with the grids. But all the information from the routing will be in our tables, and we want to look at the tables and the grid together, and we can get a picture of what's going on. So you'll see, yeah, so I can change my time steps. If I change that to 12 hourly time steps of the grid, it will go to, my file size gets bigger. And I'm at the 100K resolution, and go to 50, and you see I jump up to 424. This will be fine on exec. This is, of course, no problem on a Starlink. Would be very big for my Iridium Go. So you can make those decisions as you go. And then over here, we've got our different parameters. You know, do we want wave? Do we want gust? Do we want cape? You know, we can make those decisions. And then, as I say, we could do this download now with the smaller area, and then we could do the bigger download with different parameters. So we can change all those settings, and then over here is the settings wheel. I'm pretty sure once I click on this, I'll have to stop my share to get out of it because the zoom controls for some reason cover it, but we want to look at it. So before we do, we've got my start timers now. The time on the in the Offshore app is always local to my computer. So that's just as a whatever time zone you have, that's what will show as the time in your software. So if I click on that, you can see in here I can change my routing settings. I can do a bunch of other stuff in here too, but this is the main thing we want to do, is look at these routing settings, and I can change whether the map follows the boat. I can do comfort settings. I can do departure planning. I can adjust my polar. So this is a pretty important one to know, that I can adjust that polar up and down. I can, you know, I've got it set for 90 at night. I am on a predefined polar. I'm on the Oceanus 51. If I had my DataHub connected, I would choose that, and it would use my DataHub enabled polar. That's just adjusting incrementally when it knows you're sailing, and you know, changes your polar to be more accurate. So I've got my motoring setting on. I'm going to motor at 6 knots when my boat speed to my destination is less than 3 knots. Wave polar, I definitely want that. And then depth avoidance. So it just gives me a better route. If you don't, you know, it means that it wouldn't route me over land or into a coastline where I couldn't go. I mean, I could change that to 5 meters, whatever I wanted. And it will respect that boundary, that depth contour. I can choose which current model I want to use with my routing. I'll just stick with the Mercator, and away we go. We have got some advanced routing adjustments there, but we don't need to do those. That's not necessary. So I'm out of there now. I press the red button up the left hand side, which for some reason Zoom covers. And anyway, we're back in here, and we've got our next parameters. So we've got the GMDSS. We really, really, really want to get this. So we have the text version, and then we have the graphical version. The graphical GMDSS actually shows us what is in this text on the map. So especially when we're offshore, we want to be able to see that stuff, see what's outside our grid area, and see what we can, you know, if there's anything that we need to look out for. So I'm just going to click on next. You'll see here I've got the ocean data. I could turn that on, but then my file size goes massive. I've already downloaded it, so I don't need it. Over here, GPS tracking, AIS data. We want to get this AIS data. If I was in a YB event, I could download that as well. Obviously, I probably wouldn't have both of those selected, but let's just get it all. So the AIS data in here is somewhat similar to what you see in the over-the-horizon AIS. The over-the-horizon AIS that the DataHub does for you is just you're able to share it to more places, you know, to your chart plotter, etc., and see that on those other devices. This only shows it in the Offshore app, in that 300 nautical mile radius around you. I click on next again, and I've got all my all the things I've chosen to download. Um, so if I just click on download all, and they'll start downloading. And there's some really important things to understand about what's going on here. So you'll see that this time here, the PWG global wind, rain, and pressure, uh, that's when the grib was run. So I've got 4:15 this morning and the date, the 25th of the 9th, 2025. So I know that that is this morning's grib file, and I can see that for all the models. And so knowing when these models update is really important. So you can see they all update at slightly different times. I can also check that I haven't got yesterday's data. It will also tell me um, in the software if I've got an um, old modeling or not. And yeah, but so yeah, my ECMWF was at 5:55 this morning. As I say, this is all local time to me. But once you know what these times are, then that would be when you want to plan to update your routing each day. So my weather route is still calculating. So that's gone to the Predict Wind servers, and it knows that it's me. It knows that I'm on my 51 footer, and what my polars are. Um, if I was using my AI polars, it would have known what that was, and it would have used those, and it's calculated my route, and it's done all the things that we set up in our polars, and yeah, now we've got the outputs for it. Um, so you'll see there everything's downloaded. This PWG 50 and PWE 50 kilometer wave, we've removed it. And so we'll be doing an update to this software, which will you won't see that anymore. Um, anyway, so everything else is downloaded. That's why we've got the green tick. If you do have an error, click on it, see what it is. It'll tell you what it is. So we've got the ticks for everything. My weather route's downloaded, so I'm happy about that. You'll see here I open straight away onto the tables. Um, so we'll come back to the tables in a second, but I mean, just because I want to show you what the route looks like, and we can see if it's what we're after. So this looks like a pretty typical route for an Atlantic crossing. We head south early, and then come across with the trades. So if I zoom in here, this is a very interesting thing to look at. So you can see I downloaded that AIS data, and of course we know that our AIS data um, on board the boat is quite limited, to our VHF range. So I might be able to see, I don't know, this much range. Whereas I can actually see a bunch of other stuff, is this guy going to keep heading towards us, or this guy? Um, my neighbor's trying to talk to me from from outside. Um, so you'll see here is if I click on that guy, I can see what he is, and he's a cargo ship. And we're probably going to miss him, but it's nice to know that he's there. There's some other guys out here. We've got the Grand Concorde coming towards us. He's doing 11 knots. Um, this guy's heading up towards us as well, the Beagle. And he's doing 12 knots, heading, pretty close to where we are. So it is good to know, and obviously we can see the shipping lane over here. So for whatever reason we were over here, we would know that we want more people on watch to see this. So we'll just zoom it out a bit. I can play this forward. Actually, let's come over here and look at our models. Let's get rid of the Beagle. So I can change my models. You'll see here, I think, if I play this forward a little bit, we've got a fair bit of consensus here. Like you can see the PWG has its little wiggle out there, and the PWE decides he wants to do something slightly different here, but they do all end up pretty similar. But really, what I'm looking at here is I do have consensus, a really strong consensus with the other models here. So, I've got the GFS over here in the green, and UKMO and ECMWF. And so let's go and have a look at the ECMWF, and you see we don't have a massive difference in the wind speed when I change models. So let's just do that again. Let's go GFS, ECMWF, even PWG. They're not massively different looking. But anyway, let's go over to the EC. And this is what I mean about, our weather for the next short while. So this is, where are we? Where's now? Here's now. And so at this point here, I would actually be doing a new weather download. So at that time, I would move my start waypoint to here, download my weather again, download my routing, and away I go, doing that same process. But what I will do now I've zoomed my screen, is I will click on the tables and we'll go and have a look through here. And so we've got this is time of their passage, and then this is the wind speed. And so you see that we're sailing into a building breeze, nothing too nasty by the looks of it, peaking out there. And really, you could say it's even 18 is our peak. Our peak wind speed, average wind speed, not even gust. So, it's not exactly getting overly windy. And then we actually, as the passage goes on, the average wind speed comes down. It's going to be a pretty nice trip. We've got our wind direction, sort of changes over time, a true wind angle, rain. So this is what I wanted to come and have a look at, was my rain and my cape. And that you'll see here that I have some moisture and I have some cape. And so the cape is the energy in the atmosphere that can combine with our rain here. And if we get the two of them together, then we've got potential for thunderstorms. So you see here, I have these slightly elevated cape levels, but I don't have any moisture. So I'm less worried about this. I need these two elements together to see what, to have a potential for thunderstorms. But that's a wee way away. So we're going to keep updating our route, keep getting new weather, and we will see if anything develops there. But it's on my radar now. Lovely, gets warmer as we go across. The barometer pressure doesn't change massively, and the wave height. So we get up to about 2.2 meters in our swell direction and our wave period. So you'll see here that I can actually change these. I can, especially where's the direction here? So this is the combined wind, wave, and swell. I can come and look at the primary swell direction and the secondary swell direction, and I could dig into that, but I don't really need to dig into it too much because I've actually got the software's doing that for me. If I come down here, I get into my roll metrics. So this should be fine. Our threshold here is 4, so 2.5 kind of average through here. This is using the ECMWF wave data to calculate this. So it's using the wind wave, the primary swell, the secondary swell, and the tertiary swell. It's using my boat parameters, so my length, my displacement, my hull draft, to model, and my beam, to model how those different wave states are going to affect my boat. So this is nothing we need to be concerned about here, which is fantastic. Because if we saw something really nasty, especially, a few days out, we would want to make a decision as to how we were going to deal with that. Are we going to push through? Are we going to slow down and are we going to go and have a look at what's causing that? Has it been a system going through? Are we going to slow down and let that go in front of us, or are we going to change our route, go somewhere else? So really useful parameter to look at. Same with our vertical acceleration. Again, our threshold here is 0.2 G, so G-force, and that's your up and down, your lifting. And so you would, if you started getting these higher things, again, you would be, how are we going to deal with it? Are we just going to sail through because we don't think it's too bad? Or are we going to um, change our course, change our boat speed to avoid it? Um, so, worth thinking about. And the other thing with this is that this can is the primary cause of seasickness, is that vertical acceleration. And so if you have people on board that are going to get seasick, you might give them some seasick tablets here rather than when you get to it, because uh, they actually take a while to take effect. Um, so yeah, I've sailed with people that get seasick before, and you want to give them to them early. Boat slamming, we're all good there. That would usually, because we've got a mainly downwind route, we don't have any boat slamming. That's mainly an upwind thing, and we want to try and avoid sailing upwind. We could look at our departure planning to avoid upwind. So true, yeah. So you can see we're sailing downwind. And if I come back to the map, and we can just quickly run that through and look at the different features. So you see here, I run out of weather, and so this is where I would come back. Let's check the time here. I'm definitely going on. I would come back over here. I would first of all come over here to grib, change my grib area. Make it big. So I've got a big grib area there now. And I would do a new download where I would turn off all the other models, maybe just get one model, and have that big area. If I'm on Starlink, I can do whatever I like. I can download as much as I want. I can make this out to 10 days, and I can get that 10 days of weather. So, and away you go. Anyway, I'm not going to do that because we're getting short on time, but I do want to cover off some other things quickly in here. So the GMDSS forecast, you'll see here I have the text version. So what does that look like? Well, it looks like this. So it is quite hard to understand, especially for someone like me that's a little bit more visual. I find that quite difficult. This is really important though. We want to know what's in these because this is written by a meteorologist, and they are covering these different Met areas. So someone from NOAA is covering this area. I'm not sure which Met Service covers this area, but wherever you are around the world, you see here, there's the Australian, that's BOM. There's Met Service in New Zealand. Fiji does an area, their own area as well. So there's all these different areas written by meteorologists, but we have that actually showing on our map. Have I got it turned on? Should have it on. Oh, because I'm probably gone too far in the future. There we go. So here we are. You can see all those things that I was looking at in the text just before. They're actually now on my map. So if I have a look and I want to see what they are, I can have a look at this, and it's now, but I think this actually used to be a cyclone, sorry, a hurricane, but it's now a gale warning. And the nice bit here is I click on it, I can see where it is visually, which is nice for me. And then here it highlights the part that's relevant to me. So for that feature that I've clicked on. So whatever I click on, um, it will tell me, what that is. So here's the hurricane warning. That's Gabrielle. Um, yeah. So anyway, really, really helpful stuff to know. And it's even got its direction where it's heading. So that's nice to know too. It's not coming towards me here. What else? So on the ocean data, I did download all my currents before, so I can actually see the ocean data. You know, it's very nice. I'm going with it here. This could also affect our wave state. If I had wind against these currents, I can see what the current is. How strong it is. Current speed shows up on the map there. Satellite imagery. Again, we can see those. This is sort of ties in a bit more with the GMDSS with our big picture stuff, and we can see where different features are on the map, and you can see where that GMDSS warning was there. As I mentioned before, GPS tracking. We can see I can add my own posts about what I'm doing, and I can actually look at other people's posts and see what they're doing as well. And then, as mentioned before, if we were in the YB event, I think the YB event that I chose is in a different part of the world. Here they are over here, but I can actually see all of them as well. So if I'm in the doing the arc or whatever, I can see that data there. So I will stop sharing there because I think Kieran's going to briefly talk about some Satcoms, and yeah, and then we'll see if there's any questions that we need to answer.
Yeah, cool. So for satellite communications on your boat, Starlinks have been a game changer for all of us. 5 years ago they went around and it was only Iridium that everyone was using. And so we're massive fans of Starlink. I used it going to Fiji and it's awesome. But you've got to have redundancy, like Nick said. You'd be absolutely mad to cross the Atlantic and rely just on a Starlink and not think that maybe something would go wrong. We have customers coming in daily saying, oh, thank goodness we had the backup Iridium because the Starlink antenna got wiped out in a crash jibe or whatever it was. So you really have to think about what other communications you're going to have on the boat. So if you've got Starlink and you've got the DataHub, you can do all your tracking. That's awesome. With the DataHub, the really cool thing is that you can also plug in a Go or a Go exec Iridium into that system. If your Starlink fails for whatever reason, the DataHub will automatically fall over to the Iridium Go or the exec if you have it set up. And so your tracking will continue. And if you have everything pre-planned, like Nick said with the Offshore app, then you can start downloading all of your grid files and your routes through the Offshore app with the Iridium Go. So we sell both the Iridium Go and the newer Go exec. The Iridium Go is sort of like the older device. It's still awesome. You can make phone calls with it. You can send SMS messages. You can do GPS tracking with it. And you can download all of the weather that you would need, even for an Atlantic crossing, with the Offshore app. And so with the Iridium Go, it's a really slow connection, and you would need to modify the settings in the Offshore app, like Nick said. The good thing about our weather routing is that you don't need to do that on your computer. You don't have to download the grid files first to do the route. When you request a route, you're sending it to our server. Our server's using all of the best possible information it can find and then sending the route file back to you. It's only like 25 kilobytes, which is a tiny file. And you get, it also includes all of the ocean currents, tidal currents if you're going through those areas. So it is an awesome file and you can get it through the Go. We have monthly plans for both the Iridium Go and the Go exec. And what we're finding is a lot of people are buying the Go or the Go exec and then activating it before they leave. Please make sure you test it before you go and know how to use it. And then you can put it on one of the low plans, like we've got the basic plan for the Iridium Go or the 5 MB plan for the exec. That's essentially like a holding plan. So it's sitting on your boat, it's active, it's ready to go. And if something happened to your Starlink, you can send a message with the Go or the exec to either your family or to our billing team at PredictWind and say, hey, something's happened. please up us to the unlimited plan for the rest of our passage. We've got problems, and we can do that for you, no problem. And so then you can get all of the information that you need. Um, the Go Exec is great. I used it going to Fiji, so we had a Starlink on the boat, but I was doing a lot of testing. You can do WhatsApp with the exec, and you can get your mail, or we have specific predict mail. So Iridium have dropped Iridium mail. They're no longer supporting it. So we have predict mail, which sort of takes over from that Iridium mail, but you have to have the DataHub to get predict mail. So if you've got an existing Iridium Go, the Iridium mail no longer works. Yeah, you come to Predict Wind and we will help you out with that. So yeah, the exec's fantastic. It can download a lot faster. And like I was saying, you can use WhatsApp and stuff. You have to set your phone up to go on a low data connection. If you expect it to work just like you would Starlink, then you're going to have problems. So there is some setup needed for the Go and the Go exec. You have to download apps onto your phone. So your phone becomes the handset and it connects through Wi-Fi to the Iridium Go. So it's not a cable connection, it's like a Wi-Fi connection. And so then you would use your phone as a handset for messaging, for phone calling. You can use the Offshore app on your PC, your Mac, your Android, your iOS to get all the weather downloads. Yeah, but it's super important to have some sort of redundancy on the boat. Please, please, please don't go offshore without one of these devices. Just trying to think of what else we need to talk about for that. Nick, anything that I've missed?
Uh, don't think so. I mean, it's there's definitely, as you say, that landscape has changed a lot, and it's great because people can get more weather. Um, but yeah, redundancy is important. And I mean, I think probably something that I know that Smiley would want us to raise if he was here is like, if your backup device, if you choose you're going to use an InReach or a Zolio or whatever, just realize that you can't actually download weather with that. So you would need to have someone onshore that could convey that. Um, yeah, it's not that easy. Um, I've helped someone out before that's been in that situation, and it's hard.
Yeah.
So having a device that you can actually get some weather on, knowing how to do it, I guess that's why we've been through the Offshore app today, and then even using the Offshore app to download your weather periodically. So you do have that there. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah.
and the exec's not like if heaven forbid you ever did have to get into a life raft, the exec you can actually talk into it and make a phone call directly into the actual device. That would be one of the big reasons I'd get the exec over the Go now. Um, but yeah, and with all of these things, there's quite a bit of setup that's involved. They're not completely plug and play. So please don't be messaging us as you leave the marina saying, I'm putting my support hat on now. Don't be leaving the marina and messaging us saying it's not working or how do I make it work. You have to invest some time into this early. And our support team, we're all sailors, we've all sailed around the world. We're here to help. We've got amazing resources on how to use all of this stuff. So if any of your questions haven't been answered today, just come into support and we can direct you towards all those help articles and things that will be able to, increase your learning.
Awesome. All right, and as Kieran says, yeah, we do have a full support team. We do have an AI bot that answers some of the stuff in the first instance. Or you ever need to, if you want to talk to a person, just say talk to a person. We have the same support team as we've had for the last 5 years, so nothing's changed there. The people are still there, and we just have a first line of a bot being able to answer things quickly, which actually works really well. So yeah, still the same awesome people there to talk to, hop on the phone with, email with. So yeah,
Yeah, there's just a couple of questions we can probably go through quickly. One is, have we updated all the support help articles for the exec? Yes, there's lots and lots of information there on how you manage the low bandwidth connections and what you need to change on your phone. So there's sections there for the Iridium Go, for the exec. So have a look at those. And if there's nothing clear or it's not in there, just come into our support again and ask. We're constantly updating all of our documentation. Um, the other one is how do you handle different time zones for long passages? Like Nick said, the Offshore App will be for your computer's time zone. So you would have to change your computer's time as you passage through the different zones. Um, so yeah.
And it's the same if you're using the Predict Wind app or website, you can actually for your routing, you can set the time zone that you want to be in. Um, yeah, I guess different people might want to manage that stuff differently. I'd probably stay in the time zone I started in, because otherwise I'd get a bit confused. But yeah,
Yeah, it depends how far you're going. When you cross the Atlantic, you sort of at some stage you need to switch. So yeah, you need to pick that time for your watches and everything. Um,
nothing else. All right. Well, thank you very much, Kieran, and thank you very much, everyone, for coming along today. We really appreciate it. And as we say, if you have any further questions, please ask our support team. Happy to help.